Pranesh taking on Nodirbek Abdusattorov, and look at the complex position that we have on our hand. White is a pawn down. The king is very active, the rook is very active. So is the pawn on a6 defended by the knight. But black also has their trump card. The pawn on b3 is just 2 steps away from queening. The king on h8 is slightly cornered because of the rook here, but there's not an easy way to continue. For example, if I move my knight, let's say knight takes e4, then rook takes a6 is hanging. If I take knight takes b3, the same problem here. So I want to keep my knight, but at the same time I don't realize how to get the rook. For example, if I play rook f1 trying to get this in, then perhaps rook c8 attacking the knight, and then this pawn falls. The best I can do is enter in and take here, and it's a draw. Like for example, rook f7, rook takes c5, rook takes h7, and then a perpetual with the rook. So in a way, white here has to figure out what their next move should be, and Pranesh is doing that, and he plays h4. And he asks Nodirbek, what are you going to do now? And Nodirbek quickly plays rook c8, attacking the knight, pinning it, but it's a huge mistake. And now, can Pranesh find this incredible resource that exists in the position, which is to sacrifice the rook here? Try to calculate what is the winning move here for white. Can you find it before Pranesh does? Think about the king, think about the rook, and think about a pattern that is known as the Arabian Mate, where a rook and a knight combine to give a mating attack. You can look at Pranesh there. He's scanning the board. He can't believe that he's actually winning here. Nodirbek has just blundered big time. Just to be sure, boom, 97. And look at Nodirbek. This is a big blunder, because if rook takes c1, there is knight f6, and no power in the world can stop this mate from happening on h7. That is just incredible. This entire thing, this mating pattern with a rook and a knight. And now Nodirbek, well, the problem is knight f6 cannot be stopped easily. He brings rook g8. His plan is to meet knight f6 with rook g7. And knight f6 played, threatening a mate, rook g7 to stop it. And now boom, other rook comes in, threatening here. And notice, if you play rook g8, I can even take rook g7 and rook b8 with a checkmate on the last rank. So there's just no way in which you can continue. He goes rook, and he knows it's over. He resigns. What a victory there for Pranesh, beating Nodirbek Abdusattorov. And that beautiful mating pattern that happened with the rook and the knight, it is known as the Arabian Mate, and I believe you will never ever forget it once you've seen this game. It never happens in such a pure fashion like this. And look at Nodirbek here. He doesn't blunder often, but Pranesh, so tricky, so quick with his calculations. Amazing.